all hear me. I think that everybody here knows who I am. If you don't, I'm going to introduce myself very quickly. I am the son of Pastor Bob Farrell. He's preached here before, and I believe he's probably one of the greatest preachers that I have ever heard in my life. So it's a great opportunity to get to do this. I want to give you a little bit of introduction. My dad is a pastor. My older brother is a pastor. My younger sister is a pastor. And I am a psychologist and therapist. And sometimes people say, well, what happened to you? Nothing happened to me. But God called me in a different direction. And today I want to share something with you that is it's a story in the Bible that I see a lot of parallels in what we do. And it was no surprise to me that the Bible had principles and concepts that the world, psychology, takes credit for. They were already there, and you pulled them from the Bible. But we're going to be talking today about a concept, and the concept is ABC. So if you have a little piece of paper, you can write this down. Doesn't have to be a big sheet of paper. Can be a little one, can be that envelope there. But you just write this down, ABC, and I'm going to share this concept with you. It goes like this. A is an activating event. B is your belief. And C is the consequence. Now, there's two kinds of consequences, and you need to have this because it's going to be important later in our story. Everybody has a behavioral consequence. That means you'll do something. And then we have an emotional consequence. That means you feel something. Now, this preacher that I'm telling you about, he told me when we were starting, we were working this thing out together, he said, everybody is going to come in and they're going to ask two questions. Oh, yeah? And so what? Well, I hope that I answer those questions. So the oh, yeah is here, A, B, C. So you present this and you write this down, A, B, C. Now, what I want to share with you is it comes from a story that a lot of you may already know and be familiar with. Let me get back here. And I'm going to read from 2 Kings 5, 1 through 16. And if you'd like, you can stand with me as I read this. Now Naaman, captain of the army of the king of Aram, was a great man with his master and highly respected, because by him the Lord had given victory to Aram. The man was also a valiant warrior, but he was a leper. Now the Arameans had gone out in bands and taken captive a little girl from the land of Israel, and she waited on Naaman's wife. And she said to her mistress, I wish that my master were with the prophet who is in Samaria, then he would cure him of his leprosy. And Naaman went in and told his master, saying, thus and thus spoke the girl who is from the land of Israel. Then the king of Aram said, go now, and I'll send a letter to the king of Israel. And he departed and took with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 changes of clothes. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, saying, and now as this letter comes to you, behold, I have sent Naaman my servant to you, that you may cure him of his leprosy. And it came about when the king of Israel read the letter that he tore his clothes and said, am I God to kill and make alive? That this man is sending word to me to cure a man of leprosy. Now consider and see how he is seeking a quarrel against me. And it happened when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king had torn his clothes, that he sent word to the king saying, why have you torn your clothes? Why? Now let him come to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel. Now Naaman came with his horses and his chariots and stood at the doorway of the house of Elisha. And Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, Go wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh will be restored to you, and you shall be clean. But Naaman was furious and went away and said, Behold, I thought he will surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God and wave his hand over the place and cure the leper. Are not the Abna and Farrell, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not have washed in them and been clean? So he turned and went away in a rage. Then his servants came near and spoke to him and said, My father, had the prophet told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more then when he says, Wash and be clean? So he went down and dipped himself 7 times in the Jordan, according to the word of the man of God, and his flesh was restored like the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. And when he returned to the man of God with all of his company, and came and stood before him, he said, Behold, now I know there is no God in all the earth but in Israel. So please take a present from your servant now. But he said, As the Lord lives, before whom I stand, I will take nothing. And he urged him to take it, but he refused. Thank you for standing with me as we read. I want to talk to you a little bit about what was going on here. You have Naaman. Naaman was a great and mighty man. These words, as I was doing my research, these words will tell you something about who Naaman was. He was mighty. This word means valiant, strong. He was a power. He was a source to be reckoned with. He was victorious. God had given him great victory. Through him, Aram, and some of your versions will say Syria. Through him, Syria had been extremely successful. He was a great man. He had this long, impressive laundry list of things that he was, but in your Bible it said he had leprosy. Now, in most of your text, the words "but he had" will be in italic. So it would read like this: Naaman was this, he was a warrior, he was a great man, he was powerful, leprosy. How about that? Would you like to have that? And how many times has that happened? Andrew Farrell, PhD, therapist, great father, wonderful neighbor, jerk. How about that? You got this long laundry list of things, but then Naaman had this. And this probably, I will tell you, shaped what he believed and what he thought was going to happen. If you'll look here, and you got your ABCs written down here, you have an activating event. We have a man who is a warrior, and he's got leprosy. That's his belief would be what? I'm going to die. This thing is going to get me. Eventually, it's going to take me and take everything I have. I have leprosy. Now, I want you to understand, leprosy in the Bible was a very clear reflection of sin. It was a parallel to sin. There was nothing you could do. There was nothing that could be done. And only one person could do anything, and that was God. And you're going to see throughout these verses that everybody believed that. Now, the Bible and some of the research, again, talks about leprosy. There was a lot about leprosy. Some of the texts will say that it was a skin disease and a little rash. But I do not believe that you're going to see a man with Naaman's stature doing the things that he did if this were a simple boo-boo on his arm. Naaman was diseased, and he knew it, and he was going to die. All right, so let's look at this. Naaman now, go on to the next one. We have that, A, B, C. What had happened? Well, Naaman thought he was going to die. Now look up here on your screen. We have a captive girl, a little girl. She doesn't have anything. She doesn't have any reason to help. She doesn't have any position, no stature. Let me tell you, and some of you that are warriors, some of you that have been in the military and been over to the Middle East, a girl, a slave, and a woman, your word is worth about nothing. And that's just the way that it was in the Middle East, even at this time. But this little girl says something, and she says, I wish that my master would go to Israel. Now, I'm sorry if I get emotional, but this verse and this principle applies to me directly, and you'll see how. A captive girl speaks. No grounds, no basis, no nothing. She didn't have anything. She was subjected to someone else. She didn't have any reason to speak, and she certainly didn't have any reason to believe that this man is going to listen to me anyway, but she did what she did. Watch. She says, there's a man that could heal you. Now, do you know, as I was doing my research here, that no one in the Bible up until that time and after this, until Jesus, was ever healed from leprosy? No one. There was one incident in Exodus. Miriam had spoken against Moses, and she contracted leprosy, and Moses spoke to God. This was a terrifying thing. You were separated. You were cut off. You couldn't have anything. There was nothing that could be done. Now, this little girl believed something. She not only believed that God could do it, she believed that he would. But she had absolutely no evidence to back up her claim. She had never seen it done. We have no record of who she was. Where did you get this information? Do you know how many times we'll do that whenever somebody presents something to you? Andrew, do you know, well, where did you get your information? Well, I'm telling you, this would really help you. Yeah, but who said it? But I know this will work. Yeah, but I need to know the source. Naaman's leprosy was so bad, it had gotten so bad that he was willing to take the word of a slave with nothing and nothing to lose to the king. All right, so let's go on here. Look at what happens. Go to verse 4. And Naaman went and told his master and said, thus and thus spoke the little girl who is from the land of Israel. Now, Naaman was the captain of the guard. Okay, he was somebody, and he didn't get to that rank by presenting his king with silly requests. As a matter of fact, sometimes it was very, very challenging to even get an audience with the king. But Naaman did. He took the word of this little girl to his king and said, this is what she said. And the king said, oh, well, okay. Sounds good to me. Now, something else, if you've read your Bible, you're going to notice something about the kings that are in the Old Testament. Most, if not all of them, always had a plan. You know what? I'll do this if I can get something from it. And although it's not written here, I think this king, he didn't have any reason to believe that that little girl was telling the truth. He didn't have any reason to believe that Naaman was telling the truth. So I tell you what, I'll write you a letter for the king, and you take it and you go. In fact, I'll pay for your trip. Naaman took with him all of this wealth, because you're probably going to have to pay for it. If you get there, you're going to have to pay for it. But now look at this. This king, and it was, if you do any kind of research, it was Ben-Hadad. And Ben-Hadad had something going on. You see, if Naaman gets healed, that's good for me. If Naaman doesn't get healed, which I really don't think he's going to, this will give us a reason to fight. It's good. Works out perfectly. Now, how do I know that? Well, look at the king of Israel's response and go back to our ABCs. The king of Israel, he gets the letter, and he gets Naaman. They weren't, Syria and Israel weren't exactly enemies, but they weren't friends either. This was an enemy situation, and this guy shows up with all of these chariots and all of this stuff, and he brings a letter from a king that I'm not friends with, and he says, heal him of leprosy. Are you kidding me? Is this a joke? This is a setup. I know that it is. It's a setup right from the start, because that's what Joram would have done. If there's a way I can get something out of it, I will. He was thinking exactly the same way that kings think. This guy's trying to pick a fight with me, and he tears his clothes. Now, this was a show, but it meant something. This king believed this is a trap. Now, as I was reading this, see, Ben-Hadad probably thought that the king has at least some control over his magicians, because that's what he thought this was. So that's why he sent him the letter. I don't think he expected Joram to heal Elisha, but you've got some control over those people. The one this little girl's talking about, surely you have some control over him. Surely there's some kind of relationship with him. But that wasn't true. I want you, if you got your Bible, you want to look over here really quick in 2 Kings 3:14, just a couple of chapters up. It'll tell you why Joram reacted in the way that he did. This was a couple of maybe years, months earlier. Now Elisha said to the king of Israel, this is Joram, what business do you have with me? Go to your father's prophets and your mother's prophets. As surely as the Lord of the armies lives, before whom I stand, if I did not respect Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, I would not look at you or see you. Joram and Elisha were not friends. That clearly points out why Joram had no reason to believe that Elisha's going to help me. And even if he does, if I call him, he's not going to come. He's going to give me some other kind of speech, and I don't want to hear it. So he had no reason to believe that, well, Elisha did hear about what Joram did. Now, see, this is a critical moment for the king of Israel. he's got an ABC as well. In this moment of crisis and faith, Joram defaulted to fear. He went from the activating event, he got this letter, straight to fear. This is what a lot of us do. We panic. Oh no, I don't rely on what I know. I know there's a prophet here. I know he's sent from God. He doesn't do any of that. He goes straight to fear. He defaulted to fear. He didn't even think to consult with Elisha, and his belief was trapped in self-preservation, politics, and suspicion, and not in the power of God. Well, Elisha surprisingly does him a favor, right? He says, go on down, go back to our chapter here, and he says, why have you torn your clothes? I always laugh at that. Why have you torn your clothes? Why didn't you call me? Well, we're not friends, and the last time we talked, you told me to get out of your face. So why have you torn your clothes? Now let him come to me, and he will know that there is a prophet in Israel. Now again, I don't have any kind of written text here, but I got something for you. I think that Joram was happy to send Elisha there. You go, take him, be happy. Because when he gets there, and you can't heal him, because nobody has ever been healed from leprosy. This is a disease that eats away at our senses. In those days, this type of leprosy started with the sense of touch. Okay? And it's eating away. Nobody's ever been healed. Elisha, you want him, you got him. And when you can't heal him, then he'll kill Elisha, and I'll be done with him, and things will work out perfectly, right? That's the way kings think. Well, let's go on. Now, we have here something that I like reading this, and I like reading this a lot. And let's see. Now, Naaman came with his horses. This is verse 9. He came with his horses and his chariots and stood at the doorway of the house of Elisha. This is the way Naaman comes. Naaman comes just like he is. He is a powerful man. He's a strong man. He came with all of his horses, all of his chariots. He comes and he stands at the doorway of Elisha, and what happens? Well, Elisha's a little bit rude, isn't he? Elisha doesn't even come out. What in the world? Elisha, don't you know who I am? How many times have we done that? You have a program, or you have a word or something. Somebody comes to you and you say, wait a minute, don't you know who I am? Don't you know who you're talking to? You better come out here. Don't you? This is not going to stand with me. You come out here to me. And Elisha didn't do it. See, I think Elisha has a belief as well. I can't throw you in the river. I'm old. What am I going to do? You either want what I've got or you don't. Take it or don't. I'm not going to get up from my chair. Elisha had things on TV to watch. I don't have time for this. Here it is. There's the river. Go get in it or don't. Right? Elisha believed in God. He believed in what God had told him. This is the instruction. I can't make it any clearer. Either do it or don't. Well, what did Naaman do? Here's the activating event. Here's the instructions. And he didn't like it. This is an insult. And so he turns away in anger. I looked that up. that word in Hebrew, and it means twisted. Naaman was twisted. He was so completely bent out of, it was beyond rage. This is the kind of rage that it makes your head hurt. This is the way they're talking. He was furious. And he turned and went away. What was the consequence? Nothing. This is what he said. You don't believe it. So what did he do? He got angry. He got angry and went away. I know a couple of military people here in the audience. And I want to ask you, let's drop on down here to verse 13. We're going to head on down there. Naaman came into a rage, and he said a couple of things. It's very important you hear this. I thought. What's the problem with that? When you present that to God, you know, God, I'll take it, but I'd like it done my way. You see, I thought this was the way it was going to go. I thought he would come out here to me. I don't have to do anything. All I've got to do is stand here in this chariot, and I'm good. You wave your hand, I go home, and we're done. Transaction's over. But you're asking me to do something. You're asking me to do something beyond embarrassing. You don't understand. I've got all of this all over my body. I read about this kind of leprosy. It carried with it a smell, a stink. Naaman couldn't bathe. If he did, he could get hurt. He could never take off that armor. I've got to wear it all the time. I've lost the sense of touch. If I bump into something, I could get an infection. This is awful. What this man is asking me to do is ridiculous. The Jordan River is notoriously muddy. I'm going to take off this armor. That's the first problem. But I'm going to take off this armor, and then I'm going to go get in the mud. I've got sores all over me. And I'm going to go get in a muddy river. No. No. I won't. I will not. What was the problem? This is a problem that I hear in my work as a therapist. Well, Dr. Farrell, it can't be that easy. Oh, but it is. What do you have to do? You have to believe. Naaman didn't want to. Naaman was going to have to take off his armor in front of everybody, and everybody's going to know that I've got leprosy. In order to get into a moving river, I've got to take off everything that's protecting me and get in this water on the off chance that I might get healed, right? I'm going to have to do something that everybody's going to know what I've got. And I believe that all of his men were standing around saying, boss, we know what you got. You stink. This is serious to me. Don't you understand? Now, I asked you to go to this verse. And the servants came near and spoke to him and said, my father. Naaman wasn't their dad, but this is a term of great respect. Let me ask, I see Ryan back there on the back. How wise is it, how smart is it to go to your commanding officer when he's in a rage? Wouldn't advise it if you heard him. I would not advise that. He's already angry. And I think it probably went something like this. What? What do you want? Well, listen, boss, if it asked you to do something hard, wouldn't you have done it? All you got to do is get back there in the river. What are you doing? You've already taken the word to a king. You've already traveled over 100 miles from capital to capital through enemy territory with all of us, and you didn't have anything but a letter. And then we get here and you don't like the instructions. I think some of the guys were gathering together and saying, we're going to throw him in. If he doesn't get in, we're going to throw him in, because we didn't travel all this way for nothing. They come to him and they say, Father, listen, if he'd have asked you to do something hard, but all he said is get in the river. And I watch in my mind as Naaman goes from this tall to about this small. Oh, yeah. I did say that, didn't I? And he got in the river, and what happens? It says his flesh was made to that of a little child. I want you to see something. Naaman's story isn't just about a skin disease. It's a picture of spiritual salvation. Naaman had a condition he couldn't cure. He heard a message he didn't expect, and he struggled to believe, but ultimately surrendered and was made clean. We're all like Naaman. We carry this disease called sin, and it eats at us. It isolates, and no amount of performance or success is going to do anything to cover that up. And like Naaman, we often will try everything first. I'll try religion. I'll sign up for Vacation Bible School. I'll pass out juice. And everybody will think what? But ultimately, the call of God is always the same. See, Romans 3:23, for the wages of sin is death. 6:23, the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life. What do you have to do to get it? Take off your armor. For it's by grace that you've been saved through faith. Guess who did all the hard work for you? Guess who did all of that? And what are we called to do? Believe. Just like Naaman, salvation comes when we believe and we surrender. We have, you have, all of us have right in front of us, we have an opportunity to get in the river. I want you to see, this is the last thing, 2 Kings 5:15 and 16. Behold, now I know there is no God in all the earth except Israel. Naaman's belief changed, and so did his identity. What happened? He was clean, inside and out. Before, Naaman believed in status, honor, power, and now he believes in one true God. Naaman there at the end, he didn't try to pay for it anymore. He offered the prophet a gift, but Elisha said, I'm not going to take it. Why? Grace is free. You don't earn this. There's not a big enough gift that I could offer God for what his son did on the cross. I couldn't, you hear the hymns, oh, for 1,000 tongues wouldn't do any good. If I had all of the colors in the world, couldn't paint a big enough picture for what God does for the person that wants the change. Now, what about, you may be sitting here like I was, in the dozens and probably hundreds of times that I've read this story. I am a Christian, Andrew. I made that decision. I did that. But do you know that it's still possible to pick up little pieces of armor to try to hide what we're doing? It is. Well, nobody will know this. Nobody will know this. For you, it may be an opportunity to say, Jesus, I just want to bring this, I want to bring this back to you. I want to show you what I've got. I want to take off my armor. I want to do something different than what I've done. I want all of you to know that this right here, this is not any kind of a magic, nothing like that. It's a tool. We have one of the greatest activating events in the world. Jesus came and he died on the cross. And some of us say, I don't know. I don't know about that. And some would like a change. I'd like for things to be different. But they're not. All you have to do is take off your armor and believe. I'll be standing here at the front if you need to talk.